And joining us now is Bill Kelly, Director of Government Relations for the City of Houston. Bill Kelly, welcome to Houston Matters.
Howdy, Craig.
I take it you are not a fan of this proposed ban. Why?
No. Well, I think a lot of people like to say run government like a business. And when you see the amount of money that businesses invest in lobbyists to make sure that their interests are heard before the Texas legislature, we're not even competing. There was a news report that just came out. Gambling interests have put in between $2.5 and $4 million in lobbyists for one issue. Meanwhile, representing the city of Houston, I have a $626,000 per year with 10 lobbyists that I have to track almost 2,500 bills that go through the process that affect the city of Houston. If you want to run government like a business, frankly, our cities and our counties would be investing a whole lot more in their lobby teams than what we're seeing from the private sector. So everybody knows our lobbyists help us in those conversations that we have in that 140-day very big sprint that we have on a biannual basis to pass state laws here in Texas, and that's something that would just be crazy for us not to invest in.
You mentioned you've got this budget of about $600,000. Do you see a distinction between a city or county, or in your case, the city of Houston, hiring a lobbying firm with that money or having people on staff for whom this is the job? In other words, if the bill says, you, Bill Kelly, you're on the mayor's staff, you're free to go to Austin to make the mayor's case, you just can't hire an outside firm to do it, what's the harm?
So I think that, when you look at the way the private sector does that, typically you have retainers that are paid during session, and then when the legislature is not in session, you see those costs go way down during the interim. Would you want to hire somebody for a job that you get to do for 5 months full time? I mean, that just doesn't make sense, and it's absolutely not the way the private sector works. So you would impose a restriction that would actually cause us to hire FTEs for the entire, lifetime of that person working, as opposed to just being able to do a contract lobby. I just think that's impractical and not shown with how the private sector does it.
Representative Middleton seemed to suggest that this is just not good use of taxpayers' money, and that overwhelmingly people believe that. Is he right?
I would say radical transparency does a very good job at dispelling a lot of those misinterpretations. Let me ask you this, Craig. Do you think the viewers and the listeners on your program agree that the state's rainy day fund should have helped us pay for Harvey repair? I think overwhelmingly they would have. That was the key legislative issue that we worked on during the 2019 legislative session. I think this subjective analysis of an objective measure, they're saying, is this good for the taxpayer? We at the city of Houston think that it would be a very smart idea for the state of Texas to expand Medicaid so that we're not sending our federal tax dollars to cover a Medicaid expansion population in every state that Texas touches, but not our own state. Meanwhile, they're talking about property tax reform, which really is a null issue for our city of Houston, considering we've got our own property tax cap that we approve locally on there. So I think when you actually look at the arguments and what we're working on, and really the radical transparency that we try and put all our reports online, and are thankful for the opportunities for shows like yours to show people what we're actually doing, those arguments fall by the wayside.
All right, well, let's dig in on this a little bit. Are you saying that, from your perspective, the money spent by the city of Houston to lobby the state on any number of issues, in the end, saves taxpayers more than it costs?
Oh, 100%. The bill with regards to SB 7 that uses the state's rainy day account should net the city of Houston over $200 million in the long term, and that's for a $626,000 investment. I'll give you an example of a small bill. We worked with conservative state legislator Matt Shaheen to be able to pass a bill that allowed our municipal court to waive uncollectible fees. Per state law, we're having to send certified letters to many folks, many of whom were in Harris County Jail, that could not pay these fees, but by state law we were having to do it. Being able to give us the flexibility to waive that requirement saved us $300,000 annually on one bill. When we look at our legislative report from 2019, you'll see a number of cases like that where our lobby team more than pays for itself over and over again with regards to the bills that we work on.
Do you see how this is a tough sell for Houstonians who, frankly, can't afford to hire their own lobbying firms to worry about whether you're allowed to.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the reasons why this has passed before City Council. You know, this was a measure that was debated. Craig, you're very familiar with our City Council. Everyone from Greg Travis to Leticia Plummer voted unanimously for us to authorize our state lobby contract this time. This is not something that isn't well known or not transparent. If the folks on your program will just type in City of Houston lobby contracts, I have a standalone page that lists our state, federal, and actually a decade worth of state lobby contracts. This isn't something that we're trying to hide in any way. We're proud of the work that we do.
If lawmakers in Austin were to ask you to make your best case for why they should not establish this ban, what would you tell them?
I think local government makes good decisions. When you're able to have a mayor, city council, a county judge or commissioner's court, if they decide to make the investment in a lobby team, that should be something that you respect on the local level. Now, are there transparency requirements that should go with that? Absolutely. We helped lobby for some of those bills last time. I just think that you have to respect local control, and to say that cities and counties and other local government entities can't spend money on lobbying, that goes against what the state of Texas sure has done. I'll tell you this, too. The state of Texas, the Office of State and Federal Relations, from the beginning of Governor Abbott's term, their budget has gone up from a little over $600,000 annually to now over $1.2 million. I mean, just practice what you preach.
Bill Kelly is Director of Government Relations for the City of Houston. Bill Kelly, thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Craig.